All big changes start with a swift kick in the ass.
Welcome to another episode of Swift Kick in the Ass. This is your host, John Curran. With me today, or this evening, or tonight, or whenever you're listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube, I have Aaron Gilbert with me. He is bundled up. He's in Colorado right now, but taking some time to speak with us. But he has a very large mental health clinic, private practice in Massachusetts. And he's been helping people for about the last 15 years create extraordinary change in their life. And I think that you'll have, you know, a lot to take away from this podcast. And I hope it helps you. But Aaron, welcome to a swift kick in the ass. Um, I know that what you cover is very, is uh, is very broad. You've helped a lot of people, and the broad my audience here is actually very broad as well. We've covered job loss, we've covered terminal illness, grieving, death, dying, but we've also worked on, you know, um, coping mechanisms and creating, giving people tools, things that they can do and work from. I when Tommy, my podcasting co-host and my childhood friend, when he passed, I mean, I always went through a state of depression and went through feelings of anxiety and such because it felt like the world was just crashing in around me. Um, you know, this show helped get me through that, quite honestly, because it helped give me a lot of the tools I needed to get out of that. Um, and my life today is so much different than it was back then. But in your practice,
Hmm.
what do you think would be like maybe the most helpful way to start this conversation?
Yeah. Well, John, first of all, thank you very much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. Very happy to have a chance to speak with your audience. Um, I'm also very sorry for your loss. That's
Thank you.
that sounds very, very difficult. Um, I think that, you know, the certain loss, like what you experienced, and events that happen, uh, tragic events, is one form of struggle and pain, um, that that can often be helped with support from other people, being around people that care, being in a supportive environment. A lot of people that we work with are, I'm just sorry, my dog
That
is
is fine. I love it.
distracting me. Hold on one second. Stop.
All dogs are welcome here.
He's chewing on a bone, and he's really messing up my concentration. Um, you know, I just sort of thinking about different kinds of struggles. The big events that happen out there in the world are one thing. A lot of things that people come with to see us about is a somewhat different kind of struggle. Um,
Yeah,
it's
and
more,
that might actually be a good way to start too, is when would a person really when would a person really need to go get help and such? I know I got a lot of help from my friends and my network. One of my best friends is a forensic psychiatrist, actually. So it's really helped me a lot. But I think that, people struggle with when do they know, when do you know you really need help? Or is this just something that they can just suffer through and get by? Or, no, I don't think that's ideal, but
yeah. I think that I'm beginning to feel more and more that therapy can be a great tool to kind of to get you started on healing and on recovery. I think it's an opportunity, first and foremost, to feel fully and completely heard, to have your story be fully heard and understood by a trained, interested, hopefully smart and insightful person. When you think about it, there's not that many times in life when we truly get to tell our story in full and feel that it is fully heard, understood, listened to. Um, that's not that often in sort of even with close friends. Often it's things come get in the way of that type of
Yeah.
open sharing. So I think there can be tremendous benefit just from the feeling of having shared your story and knowing that it has been heard by another caring person fully. It's hard to explain. That sounds kind of simplistic, like, well, how can just telling my story help? But somehow it can be a huge unburdening and a huge level of satisfaction to feel that what you're explaining makes sense to
Hmm.
someone else. So I think that's one. If one's feeling like that's something what is appealing to you, that you want to be heard, you don't want to necessarily, you feel like you might be burdening your friends, or you feel like they've got their own issues, or they're not going to really understand fully.
Hmm.
Um, then it can be a good time to seek out. I don't want to say seek out help because that's sort of it's a bit of a cliche, and it's not necessarily the thing. Is you're seeking out a resource. You're seeking out an opportunity
Hmm. I
to
like that.
yeah, to express yourself and to get a different perspective, and to make sense of things together with somebody else. So I think that's really an important part of it. Um, the other thing I wanted to say when I was just talking about the different levels of pain that people experience, a lot of times there's this internal kind of dialogue that goes on for many of the people that we see. Um, that is unhelpful.
Like
Often
negative
kind of
talk or
negative self-talk, um, um, highly, self-critical internal
hmm
voice,
just
uh,
negativity, basically, right?
negativity,
Like just
uh, that you're not.
I could
I'm
it
no
be
good.
like blinders? Um,
Yeah.
that's how I felt when I was going through depression. I felt like, I mean, I didn't recognize it until after I got out of the depression a bit, but you recognize that you kind of you aren't seeing the whole picture. You're seeing just you've got these blinders on and you're just so focused, hyper focused maybe on what's going on,
Yeah.
um,
Can
that
you
you
tell me
lose.
a little bit more about what that was like for you?
Well, when Tommy was dying, um, that's when I really started feeling. I mean, I started. It felt like my world was coming in on me. I mean, because it wasn't just my best friend dying. It was work was being impacted. My marriage was impacted. Um, it just felt like my world was falling apart at that time. Um, and you kind of forget, you get hyper focused on what's going on that you forget about everything else going on in the world. The world doesn't revolve around any one person, it keeps
Right.
going. But I think it was easy for some people to lose hope that things will change, um,
Yeah.
especially when it's so dire. And when someone is dying,
Yeah,
it's a process.
yeah, absolutely. Um, you know, I think that we all kind of have this feeling that things should go according to plan.
Yeah.
Um, and even though they seldom really do, and even when they do go according to plan, things are always a little different than we envisioned. Um, you know,
Could we talk a little bit about maybe the extremes? Because the way I
yeah,
look at it is that people think in extremes one way or the other. Like they, you know, we talk about negative thoughts and such,
yeah.
but also I think it goes to the opposite side too. And the reality is somewhere in the middle, maybe.
Meaning, tell me a little bit more about what you mean with the extremes.
Like I don't know, like our expectations.
Mhm.
Um, you always think of maybe the worst case. There are people who think of the worst case scenarios. That's where their head goes. But
Mhm.
then maybe there's others that are so optimistic, you know, they negate it negates something
Mhm.
that's very key that they're missing. They just gloss over it because of it. You know, I guess that's just the extremes in
Yeah.
thinking about, and really, I guess what the focus is just
Yeah.
what's
It's
going on.
interesting. What's interesting to me, what strikes me there is that both of those examples have something very much in common, even though they're somewhat opposite. There's something very much in common that they both have. They're both future centric. They're both focused on what's coming. It's
Hmm.
something great. I think something great is coming. I think something horrible is coming. But they have in common that they're really not grounded in the present,
Hmm.
really focused on, what's going on now? That's not that important. What really matters is what's coming. And that's when, life is gonna really matter. Either something horrible or something amazing. But they're both not right here, right now,
Yeah,
and we do have a tendency to discount the present.
yeah, absolutely.
As a result, we're living in the future, and that's yes, of course. It's better to be optimistic. I would say that that's another thing we could talk about. But I do think you're leaning into some form of optimism and maybe something a little more measured than that sort of blind optimism that everything's going to be amazing. But some form of optimism, I think, is quite helpful, and that can be developed. But you know, we getting out of the current moment, getting out of the idea that things are okay right now. Like both of those cases in those examples, the person that's worried about something horrible in the future is glossing over the fact that I'm presuming, based on the way you set that up, that right now is maybe okay. Right now is not so
Hmm.
bad. It's the future that's going to be horrible, but right now is what we've got, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Person that is thinking that things are going to be amazing in the future, well, they might be
Well,
pretty good now too. Yeah.
yeah. I was kind of thinking about that. Like things are bad now and things are going to be bad. Like that. I mean,
Oh, okay. Things are
that's
bad
kind of how
now.
I was framing it. But you made an
Oh, I see.
interesting point. Because as I think back about that time in my life, I mean, that's when I found meditation.
Yeah.
And I really believe firmly in a mind body connection.
Mhm.
And there's my body was kind of out of sync with my thinking or I don't know. It was just so much going on
Right.
during that time. But I agree, it wasn't grounded in it wasn't grounded in the present.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. I mean, of course, meditation is all about being okay with being in the present
Yeah.
moment. And I find that just the process of meditation is just the process of focusing on your breathing, on your breath, is can be so grounding, and so calming. It's incredible. Uh, and I would encourage people, in terms of tools, I would encourage people to, even if you don't meditate, take a few minutes to really focus on your breathing, focus on taking slow, deep breaths, a few slow, deep breaths. You'll be amazed, I think,
Yeah.
how calming that can be. When we're anxious, we really go around kind of panting. We really go around, our breathing is shallow, it's rapid, and that has a um, circular effect, reinforcing effect on our anxiety. And I do think you're absolutely right that it's the mind-body connection, and that's a real thing. So I
I
find that that's why I think in some ways that's why exercise I think can be so helpful because it does. One thing I love about exercise, you can't do it in the past, you can't do it in the
mm,
future. You can only do it now. You know, you can't do a workout in
yeah.
3 weeks. It's got to be today if you're going to do it. And it's also physical, and it also gets you into your physical body. And that can be anything. It doesn't have to be at the gym. It can be a walk in the sunshine, in nature. I think natural light is very important. Get especially early morning and before nightfall can be great for your circadian rhythms and your sleep pattern. Um,
What about for people who say they don't have the time
for what?
to do something like that?
Don't
Could
have the time to
Yeah,
breathe.
like that's yeah, no, yeah. I mean, it's like no, just to take a like a walk.
Take a walk.
Like one of my
Mhm.
friends lost his mother recently,
Mhm.
and he was going through a rough time, and I was like, just go take a walk on the beach. He's down in
Mhm.
Florida. It's like
Mhm.
can't find the time. Take 10 minutes. I don't
Mm.
know. It's
Well,
I don't know what to tell
I
people like that.
I know I should be. A little hard to be fully sympathetic or fully in agreement with that. Just when you see how much time we spend looking at our phones,
Yeah.
how
It's like
much,
you have to make the time.
yeah, we make the time for something. You know what I mean? We we make we make time. This person, your friend, he's making time for something.
Yeah.
He doesn't have time because he thinks that what he's making time for is more important.
Hmm.
So I guess it's just more of a question of priority, or maybe not convincing him because that's his decision, but mm, explaining how it could be helpful, and then
Could
letting him make the decision to see if he might raise it up a few notches in the priority. Because if he raises it up a few notches in his priority level, I'm sure he's going to be able to find the time.
Yeah, I
Um,
hope so. It's difficult to
yeah, of course it is. Yeah, no, it's very difficult, and I am. I mean, of course, I'm sympathetic to him and what he's going through, and it's just that, yeah, it's a question of what is going to help, and maybe does he think other things help more, or does he? What does he? what is he so busy with? His work, his job?
with his work, yep, his job, and one crisis after another, quite honestly. Said
Mhm.
it, but I think he's got a little bit past that now, which is good,
Mhm.
but took some doing. It just took some
It's
steps.
hard. I mean, it is hard. I mean, life is this life is really hard. And what I find is that one thing that helps is finding a way to be less judgmental with ourselves, finding a way to be more gentle with ourselves, less harshly critical, um, recognizing that we have flaws, we have weaknesses. Um, I think what's helpful to me, and I think what I try to work with some of my clients is, developing, trying to clarify a sense of what our values are, trying to clarify a sense of what constitutes a good life,
Hmm.
how we, what feels, what feels virtuous or what feels like it has intrinsic value, and that can be big things, it can be little things, a little thing can be just like, how do we interact with the person that we get coffee from in the morning? What are some of the ways in which we kind of try to live our simple daily life and recognizing that that is important. When you think about it, when you really think about it, we tend to think of life in the big headlines, the big things that happen, the
Hmm.
graduation, the wedding, the buying the big house, getting a job, these headline things. The vast majority of life is really mundane stuff.
Yeah.
90, I don't know, 98, 9% of life is kind of the how we live our life in just regular daily life. And yet we don't, it doesn't matter. What matters is achieving that big goal or meeting that right person or having that child or things like that. And yeah, those can be great and but that's not really the most of life. And so I think that giving value to those simple things and as I say, being less judgmental. I think that, we what I mean by less judgmental and less harsh is, maybe people are listening and saying, "Oh, great, it sounds, yeah, come up with your virtues and your values, and oh, aren't, isn't that great? And you're such a, good, virtuous, moral person."
Hmm.
No, I don't mean that. We're gonna f fall short, sometimes way short. But having those values and virtues gives us a place a center court, a center ground to come back to and to recover. You were talking about
Yeah.
resiliency, and I think that's a big part of resiliency is coming back to what we know to be right. And
Hmm.
um, what what doesn't help coming back to what we know to be right is saying, "I'm such a hypocrite. I came up with all these things. I did the exact opposite today. I was rude to that person who gave me my coffee. I did all of the things backwards. I'm a hypocrite,
Hmm.
loser, give up on that. Just, you know, your world is different than you think it is. And then we kind of sometimes we come up with, alternate or more pessimistic ways. Everything sucks, nothing's good,
Yeah.
people are horrible. And all you got to do is just try to, we come up with the reverse. And yeah, I think that we do that, people do that too often. And that's because they're too harsh with themselves, I think.
Yeah, no, you make I'm thinking so many different things as you're talking about this, about being so critical on yourself. In part, I think it's good to recognize
Mhm.
when you're being harsh.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, most people, if they're being harsh, they don't recognize it and they can't do anything to change it. But you have to first recognize that you're doing something wrong and try to do better the next time. And that's where I think character and virtues and things come back. And I think it kind of provides a standard or an ideal, something to aim for.
right.
Um, but it's a challenge day in and
It's a
day out.
challenge. And I think that it's okay for it to be a challenge day in and day out. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that people get frustrated that
Well,
I get good at it and then I screw up.
I think
That's
that's where people go wrong is a lot of times is they expect the challenge to end.
they expect the challenge.
It's
Yeah.
and it really doesn't. It goes to a different I think it goes to a different level maybe. The challenge is still there, but you handle it in a different way maybe.
There can be great satisfaction though in it, but it's another thing about being in the moment and recognizing what's happening because sometimes you will get it right. And
Yeah.
it's important to notice that too. Not just notice the times you screw up, but notice when you do stick to your values and you do feel like you act virtuously to recognize it and appreciate it and enjoy it and get pleasure from it, you know?
Yeah.
I think that that's positive reinforcement that helps to build that habit. Doesn't make it perfect. It does not make it perfect, but it does help to reaffirm what you're trying to do, and that feels good over time.
Yeah, I think too, like, what has helped me get through the rough times is, and this goes back to something you said earlier. When you're going through a difficult time, often I think you believe it's only you. You're the only person to have ever gone through something like that. Like for instance, when a long time ago, my wife had a miscarriage. And it was devastating to both of us. But then when I spoke to other people, I realized a lot of people have gone through that. It's very common and it honestly helped me process it and deal with it. Um, Talking to your friends about your difficulties and such, I think is good. But as you said, there are limits placed on that. And also there could be bias uh, brought into that. Going to a professional is good in that regard because you're getting an unbiased view. You're getting a professional opinion that can help validate, what you're going through rather than someone who might have some vested interest. But
Yeah,
um, but
yeah.
I guess it's friendship also comes up in the topics that people are interested in
Hmm.
talking about and finding good friends.
Hmm.
Uh, I think that's a lifelong endeavor because time really
Yeah,
shows you who your friends are.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that yeah, yeah, and I think that's a particular well, I think that can be particularly important and challenging for men,
Hmm.
particularly as particularly as we get older. Men, I could be generalizing too much, but I think women often have a better capacity or a better innate recognition of the importance of friendship, uh, in the importance of maintaining friendships than men sometimes do. And so, um,
Well, we're taught like not to cry,
well,
hold our
we're taught
feelings in.
to be very independent, right?
Yep.
Independence, you got to be able to do it yourself. Um, and
And that's
This
not really
just
true. I mean, it's the, I mean, a lot of things, yeah. I think
Mhm.
specifically when you're trying to change your own life,
Mhm.
only you're the best person, you're the only person who can do that.
You're the
Um,
only person that can do that.
I mean, you have to want to, you know,
That's where
that,
you have to want to. That's true, and that's where that relationship with yourself, I think, is
yeah,
being your own friend. Being being your own friend. There's because when we're in that self-critical voice, we're saying things. Think about it. We're saying things to ourselves that, I mean, if we were to say to a friend, they would we'd lose that friendship.
yeah.
You know, if we were to, or it would be we say we can be very cruel to ourselves.
What do you think drives those kind of thoughts? I mean, like the way I like to think about it is our thoughts are not necessarily within our control. What what pops up in our head, we can't necessarily control that, but our brain is trying to serve us in some way. We
Yeah.
might not understand it, but maybe there's a recurring thought that keep popping up in your head, like something really bothers you. And
Yeah,
what do you
it's
do?
yeah, no, it's a great point and a great question. And I think that looking at thoughts is a fascinating thing to do. Well, a couple of things. Are you saying where do thoughts generally come from, or where do these sort of very self-critical kind of voice or
Well, I mean,
thoughts come
either or, I think would be
from?
interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I think that what happens with thoughts and what gives them the power is usually not the initial thought, you know, it's the follow-on, it's the way we fuse with some of these thoughts, the way we kind of grab hold of them and say, I just had this thought and it's really important and I need to, if the thought is negative, if the thought is, something very self-critical, then if that's just one thought, then it's not going to do much damage because thoughts sort of have a half-life. If we don't fuel them and fuse with them, they do pass. I mean, think about how many millions of thoughts have we had that where are they now? They're
Yeah.
gone, right? So, but what happens is some of these thoughts come along and we grab them and we like really put them under a microscope, and then we have follow-on thoughts about that thought and we kind of build on it, we amplify it, like I'm a screw up, yeah, I really am, because this proves it and that proves it, and then that
I've been
the
told
person
that all
said
my
that to
life.
me,
And
been told that all my life, and this person said this to me, and I thought they were wrong, but they probably right, and now
mm,
these are all of those other thoughts that we start building this kind of we start nurturing this plant, this kind of poisonous plant, and that's what causes the damage. I think that's what's good with meditation, by the way, is that what it teaches is, sometimes people think, you sit down and you zen out and you don't have any thoughts. That's not true at
that's
all.
not true at all. Yeah.
Sometimes you're bombarded by thoughts. The thing that you practice doing is is not grabbing hold of those thoughts. You recognize the thought and you let it go, and you can get better at that. I mean, if somebody's listening to this for the first time and they're saying, well, how
It,
do you do that?
I agree with you that it can be done.
It
I'll
can be
I
done.
back
You
you
can
up
get
on it.
and you can get better. You can get better at it.
Yeah.
It's like you do not have to examine every thought. Just because it shows up doesn't mean you have to examine it.
It
Where
doesn't
does it come from?
necessarily mean anything, right?
It doesn't necessarily mean, who knows where it comes from. I don't know where it comes from. But what I'm trying to say is that um, if it's a thought you want to examine, or that gives you a sense of creativity, or that gives you a sense of optimism, or that gives you a new perspective on something, yes, you may want to make the choice to examine it more closely. But But if it's not, then we can get better at letting these things, letting them go, um, and it can be healthier for it. I think that in terms of the self-critical voice, where does it come from? Well, probably, to some extent, it could be internalized internalized criticism that we've heard, maybe particularly in childhood, maybe from important figures in our life, our parents, or other people in our lives or caretakers. Um, when we're at a particularly, highly impressionable age, like childhood, hearing certain things that are negative and hearing them often, um, that can be really imprint itself
Yeah.
into our psyche and into our internal landscape. Um, I think first step starts with recognizing that, recognizing what we're doing, that is happening. And sometimes, that can be worked out in therapy sometimes not. Um, but just having that realization, like, oh, I think am internalizing, I'm telling myself this because I've internalized that kind of criticism from my past. That's interesting. Then that doesn't stop it, but it gives you something to begin to work with,
Yeah.
as opposed to the alternative is if you don't have that, then it's just like, well, because it's true. I'm thinking it because obviously it's true, and it's
And
not necessarily.
then if you can't change it, if it's true and you can't change it, then maybe why are you spending so much time thinking about it? And maybe you need to let it go
Yeah,
and let it be,
yeah.
because what does spending the time thinking about it do except make you crazy?
Mhm.
And that's where I think meditation helps, because I mean, it helped me with acceptance. And what I was what I was asking myself when I was having recurring thoughts come up is saying, you know, what are you trying to show me? I mean, I'd ask myself, how does this serve me? And if it doesn't serve me, then I ask you just to move on. And
Mhm.
I do martial arts, so it's almost like judo for, you know, for these thoughts. You just kind of pass, you kind of just assist them.
Mhm.
Uh, and what I found is I kind of compare it to like um, just having these thoughts caught up in my brain, and they're bouncing around. They can't escape. And when they can't escape and they're just bouncing around, it causes a lot of damage. It's better for me just to let it pass. And that's what meditation really taught me. And I know that I was hurting from within. And I think I learned during that time that, true personal change, it starts from the inside and grows out.
Yeah.
Um, at least that's how I think about it. I was injured. The world had worn me down. Um, and I think if we're focusing on resilience, it's good to think about, what are we trying to be resilient about? What are we trying to get back to? What are we trying to build up um, our armor against?
Yeah.
Because this world is tough and it's getting tougher. But I think that when the world gets you down, this leads to a bigger problem for all of us, is that we lose hope and we stop dreaming and stop like aspiring to do extraordinary things, because we're already beaten, because we already told ourselves we couldn't do it. But
Yeah.
I know I threw a lot at you uh,
No,
on
yeah.
this.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying and I agree with you. Another thing that is kind of hard is getting into the comparative comparison game with other people or
Mm.
with a sense of what we should be or should achieve. Um,
You mean
eh,
like keeping up with the Joneses?
yeah, I guess so.
Is that what you mean?
I,
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah. That's a that's a that's bound to backfire.
Yeah,
It's
no,
yeah.
I'm thankful. I learned a long time ago, people we're all on our own path.
We're all on our own path. Yeah.
And what one person has, another person might not have it. But
Yeah.
they might have something else that that other person doesn't have. I mean, but in the end, it all balances out somehow.
I mean, I think that, there is, it's nice to have material things, um, but they completely pale in comparison to inner peace and
Yeah.
peace of mind, physical health and peace of mind. I mean,
If you don't have it,
you cannot beat that, and um, so that's something that is always available to us to pursue, to work on. Um, and that's our own path, like you said. It's our own journey, and it doesn't. It's going to end up being much more satisfying. Uh, I think, ironically, that also when we have that peace of mind and self-acceptance and are able to quiet that critical voice, it opens up space for things like creativity, optimism, energy, insight, curiosity. And these things, ironically, I think can help us to achieve other forms of success too,
yeah,
including material success. But when we're in our own way, but not doing it because it will bring material success, but I think that can be just a byproduct
right.
sometimes. Um, but yeah, uh,
It's like it wasn't the intent,
right.
but you get it.
Yeah,
It comes along with it.
it's a bonus. Yeah, it's a bonus.
You know, I no, I love that. It's yeah, it's you know, I know we've talked about some deep, very deep things. We've covered a lot of different topics. Um, you know, I think it all depends on what people want out of their own life.
Mhm,
Um, I think what I try to accomplish in this show is I try to motivate people
mhm,
towards something positive. That's the swift kick in the ass for me. It's it's uh it's something that might be jarring. It might not be all that pleasant to go through, but you're gonna come out better uh better for it. A lot of what we go through, we don't ask for. I didn't ask for my friend to get brain cancer. He didn't ask for it either. Um, you know, life has this way of throwing things.
Can I, can I ask you something?
Go ahead.
Uh, did um, was he? How did he make sense of things towards the end? Did he have a chance to? Did he gain some insight about what this life is about? Or did he have? I
Yes.
imagine he went through a great range of experiences, emotions, all
Yeah, we
kinds.
kept the show. So we when he got sick,
Mhm.
he was in top physical shape. Now he was living down in Florida. I'm here in Virginia. but he was running stairs,
Mhm.
like 5 flights of stairs every afternoon. He'd go to the beach and they had the tower that he would run. And he started getting, he started seeing signs like he'd stumble or he would get really winded or tired and such. And just some things were happening he couldn't understand. Started researching it. Um, start you go on the internet when you start having issues like that, that will drive anyone's anxiety up, because it's the worst case. You read about the worst case of everything. He thought he had ALS. And so he came to me because my dad died of ALS. Um, and actually, that my dad is the one who kind of gave us the idea of the show of living on our own terms. He taught Tommy and I as we grew up about living on your own terms. And we're trying to figure out what all that really meant and how to implement it in our own lives. So we started a show about it, and we got to about 100 episodes. Um, I think we did maybe 15 episodes or so when he was sick. So yeah, to answer your question, he did. He wasn't. We talked about his mortality and talked about he knew he was dying. He was not afraid of dying. He was afraid of not living. And and what he meant by that is he was afraid of not just squeezing out as much life and enjoyment, not enjoyment, but just squeezing out as much life as he could and enjoying it. He joined the Gilda's Club, and he was doing karaoke, and he couldn't sing, but loved it and just spent time with his family and friends and continued to do the podcast because he wanted to help other people who were dealing with it. It became much bigger than him to say, and he just wanted to help people, really. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. I think what I take from that is that you know, in life, again, there's two kinds of stressors that are kind of similar. Brings me back to where we started, which was optimists and pessimists both living in the future. But like in life, when things go really well and we have really good things, we want to hold on to them and we're really protective about them. And
mm-hmm,
oh, I love this. Don't take this away from me. I love this relationship. I love this thing, this job, this house, this thing I got. And we want to kind of protect it. And we're stressed out about losing it. We're stressed out about something coming around and taking it. So we
mm-hmm,
fight. And when things are bad, we are just desperate to get rid of the things. Um, and both are kind of we're seeking this, I don't know, the sense of permanence. And what he was doing was, recognizing that you can't do that. Things are going to get taken away from us, everything. And things that are bad are going to disappear too. We're going to disappear.
yeah.
So he's saying, life is now, life is here. You know, that he was able to go and karaoke and like and enjoy it and find joy and pleasure in it was like how, if he was focusing on dying, if he was focusing on what he's about to lose, he couldn't do that. But he was
He went
able,
through hell.
he went through
Um,
hell. Yeah.
he went
Yeah.
through hell, and the treatment of that was, I don't think I would do it. I mean, they make a mask, a special mask for you that's made out of hard plastic, and they saw it in half and they put it on you and they bolt it on. and then they bolt you to a board
Mm.
so that they can place the lasers in the right place and you can't move and you're there for hours.
Mm.
I mean, I couldn't imagine. To me, that would be hell. But with that being said,
Mm.
he looked at it as an opportunity to change his wardrobe. And he really believed he was with his wife in Bath and Body Works, and they were looking at all the different fragrances. And he said, "You know what? That would be my rapper name." And he looked at it, and he says, "It was warm vanilla sugar." And this is the whitest guy that you've ever seen, pale white. I mean, blonde hair as a kid, but lost those hair. Warm vanilla sugar. And he took the opportunity to, like, his shoes had to be slip-on shoes. He couldn't tie his shoes. So, and pants had to be loose. He had a cane, and he had a
He was
cabbie's
warm
hat
sugar.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like, I mean, he was styling.
Mm.
He just really made the most, you know, there was no changing it. And
Yeah.
he used to just say you gotta embrace the suck.
Yeah.
Uh, and I honestly, that's why I carry on this show is
Mm.
in Tommy's memory, and it helps me, it helps
Mm.
others.
Mm.
And I know I'm better for it, and I hope other people are better for
Yeah.
it from listening. Because there are a lot of people out there that need help. I see
Yeah.
the little tail. I love it. I'm a dog owner as well, so
Oh, yeah.
I think it's
We
important.
can learn, we can learn some things from dogs, you know?
Yes.
They don't need to be taught to stay in the moment.
No, they
They,
don't.
eh, it's it's interesting. I don't know. I wake up every day and he's optimistic, he's happy, and I don't know. I can learn from him.
No, I totally agree. I just had to say goodbye to my six. He was almost 16. Um, border collie mix. His name was
Yeah.
Phineas. He was not only my best friend, but he saw my family grow over his life. He was our family's dog. Everyone in our family would say Phineas was their dog, you know, and we were all there on that day when we had to put him down because he had he was getting dementia, I guess, and he was starting to get aggressive towards the kids, like he bit my wife and my daughter, and it was doing that. That was not him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That was not him. And saying goodbye to your pet, someone that you love, it,
yeah.
it doesn't seem so humane when you're going through it. I
No,
mean, it was the right thing to do.
yeah.
But it's like losing a family member.
Yes, it is.
So enjoy, and you're right. And that one of the things I took away from it was Phineas was always in the moment.
Yes.
And that's what I took away from, and I need to live like that as well. Live
Hmm.
more in the moment.
Hmm.
And you never forget the people that made an impact, people or animals, or never forget that.
I think one way to, and maybe a way to sometimes to think about it is to sort of like we don't, giving the sort of sanctity of the moment, not looking past this moment or this interaction. It's like how many we've all had the experience of kind of being at a party or something and talking with somebody and knowing that they're looking over our shoulder to
To get out.
something more interesting or
Yeah.
and not giving sort of the sanctity of the moment of this interaction.
Yes.
And I think doing that can be it's good practice for being in the moment, and it's also it can feel good. It can feel good. It can feel rewarding and feeling like, you're giving when you recognize somebody else with dignity and honor and respect, you feel it for yourself too, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. So,
That's very true. It's very true. But I can't believe this hour has really gone by very quickly, so quickly. We should probably start wrapping it up because
yeah.
I value your time and you're on vacation, right? So I appreciate you taking your time. Is there is you I should have asked you this earlier on. The three-step model that you said had mentioned, is there any way that we could quickly talk about that? And this is, I mean, and is this a strategy or let's
Oh,
see,
oh,
the
you're
th
talking.
let me see, there was a three-step, just making the best out of,
I think,
actually, let me ask you this question.
yeah,
Who do so you've been working with people the last 15 years about with people who creating extraordinary change.
yeah.
Where do you think the success in those people lies? Like, are there certain character traits
Mhm.
or characteristics that they share that might lend themselves to success?
Um,
Like in creating and success in creating change. Like I was meeting with a doctor who was a expert in thananology. It's grief, the study of death, grief, death, and dying. And
Mhm.
she was talking about how some people go through a traumatic experience and they turn it into a positive, really positive thing. Like my
Like your friend.
friend went through a terrible divorce, lost, $1 million in his business, and just everything came apart.
Mhm.
And he took it as an opportunity to totally start from scratch and rebuild his life the way he wanted it. And he found, not only did he find his own personal internal happiness, he got remarried, found the love of his life,
Mhm.
and is in a place he loved. I mean, he's living in the moment. But it's transformational growth. And I'm the name is escaping me on it. What it's called. There's a name for it, but where it really turns into positive. And I have a lot of people asking me to say, how do you do that? How do you take something so like so bad and
Mhm.
become a better person out of it or something? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think, the first step is what your friend did, which was to, uh,
Like look at what you
make,
have.
I think it sometimes can be as simple as he making a decision to sort of choose life, to sort of,
Mm,
it does require courage. Your friend went through this terrible thing, this terrible divorce, which can be brutal. I mean, that can be actually one of the worst things. I think it's can be brutal. Um, and I do feel like we get to a place where we have sometimes a simple choice, of am I going to move towards life or am I going to move towards death?
mm.
Um,
That's a good
it's
way
a
of looking at it.
it's sort of you know it's a choice that he made the choice to pursue life, and it all started there. And I think once you make that choice and you really decide that that's your choice, then you start to look for ways to do that. How do I encourage that? What's a good thing I can do today? Sometimes it can be as simple as that too. I think that when I've had hard times in my life, um, let me do one good thing today. Can I do one good thing today? Um, and and doing that thing. And can I do something else tomorrow? And kind of trying to building some momentum.
After you do that one thing,
Mhm.
what do you think about saying, "Hey, I did that one thing and it was really good. Good job." Or, like rewarding yourself for that.
You have to tell yourself that it matters, and you have to tell yourself that that one good thing matters, and you have to push back against that voice that says, "That's nothing. That was just what did you do? That was that
Yeah.
proud of that? You're proud of that little thing? Yeah, yeah, I am. I'm proud of that little thing." You have to push back. You have to fight back. There's that voice, that says,
Yeah.
"You
That's a
just
good way
lost.
to put it too.
You lost. Look at what you lost. You lost everything. You lost, and now you're happy because you did that one thing for your friend. It's like you gave him a ride or something. What?
Yeah.
You think you're a hero because yeah, no, I don't think I'm a hero. I think that was a good thing, and I feel good about that, you know. And little things like that matter, and they add up. And
Y-
I think but it's hard. It's hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but that's where that's where the secret is.
Yeah, I mean, I could relate to so much of what you were saying because I personally feel that what pulled me out of my depression was a choice.
Mhm.
I made a
Choice.
choice that I was not going to live like this,
Hmm.
and I was going to do whatever it took to do that. Um, and it doesn't really matter what other people say
Hmm.
in to me. It didn't matter what other people said to me in that moment because I made my mind up what I was going to do. But I bring that up about other people is because our environment is so important. And if you have people in your life that are saying, you can't do this, you can't do that, you're no good, oh, that might not be, it might be a good thing. Maybe you are. Maybe they're being real with you and they're trying to help you.
Well, you might
But
not be
but
good
maybe
at
not.
you might not be good at a thing. I mean, like if
Yeah.
somebody were to tell me, you're not going to be able to play shortstop for the Red Sox. They might be right. They
Yeah.
are, right? But I mean, but that's if I internalize that as
But that doesn't mean you can't love the game.
yeah, 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 or that if I overgeneralize that to be like I can't do anything. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's true. Well, I so much appreciate. I think we've covered so much ground, and I apologize if I know I threw some doozy of questions at you, but you handled it
thank
amazingly.
you.
I think you answered all my questions, and we covered a lot of ground.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Well, thank you. I want to thank you for what you do, and thank you for your work,
thank
and
you.
for helping people the way you do. And I wish you enormous success with the podcast, continuing basis. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate that. I never get any type of feedback like that. But yes, and your input has been so helpful to me personally. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of help out of
Oh,
this.
I hope so. I hope so.
So,
Well, thank you, John. It's a pleasure to
and I
meet
wish
you.
you very much success too, as well in the future,
Thank you,
as
sir.
well as in the here and now.
Right. Take,
Thank you, Aaron. Have a nice evening. Enjoy Colorado.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Hope you got your ass moving. Until then, until the next time, I'm out of here. Peace.